Boy, it's a lot of mess in this tight end room. Boy, y'all know it's going to be bad. So listen, man, we've talked about quarterbacks and early round pick politics, we'll just call it. We've talked about offensive linemen and early round pick politics, all that kind of stuff. Let me just make that big one time for the old heads that can't see. For the old heads with the bad eyes right there. Pick politics comes into play a lot with most of these positions. I don't think tight end applies to that. I don't think tight end is going to be a part of the discussion when we talk about pick politics and who's getting on the field and all that kind of stuff, right? Just like wide receiver and running back, with your tight end room, you want to limit redundancies as much as possible, right? You don't want a tight end room with 3 blockers and no receiver dudes, or you don't want 3 receiving tight ends and no blocker guys. You know, you balance characters is just cool, whatever, but you want to limit as many redundancies as you possibly can. Let me make this list one more time for the old heads in the back. Let me just make this even. This is what I want to do first. Let's just talk about Jake Ferguson here, right? Jake Ferguson, alpha of the group. I think he's about to emerge into a star, one of the best tight ends on this team, partially because of how good I think he is, but also Dak Prescott's going to be elevating him. Jake has gotten much better as a blocker. I expect him to continue to improve in his 3rd year. Receiver, I expect him to improve in his 3rd year. Just all around unbeatable in the seam ball, tough catches and all that kind. Yak guy, bringing us things we haven't seen in a long time, man. It was hard to get Yak out of Dalton Schultz. It was hard to get Yak out of Jason Witten when he was a 40-year-old man. It was hard to get Yak out of those guys. So Jake Ferguson is your complete, balanced star tight end in the making. That's not official yet, but man, it's coming. It's on the way. So shoot, man, in real life, Jake Ferguson, your tight end 1. I project you to be like an A- or something like that, because it's hard to have a good tight end anyway. There's only like 6 tight ends worth talking about in the league. Anyway, I think Jake's one of them. But Jake is tight end 1, pass catcher 2 in Dallas. Big things coming for Jake. Now let's just erase Jake out the conversation. And these are the guys that we're left with. Let me pull this down so y'all can see me. These are the guys that we're left with here. Luke Schoonmaker, John Stevens Jr., Peyton Hendershot, Princeton Fant, Brevin Spann Ford, and Alec Holla. Now, when I say you have to limit redundancies, let's just say for giggles, the Cowboys carry 4 tight ends. That's what makes sense to us. They typically carry that many tight ends. They play a bunch of 12 and 13 personnel. You need 3 tight ends for that, 2 and 3 tight ends for that. If a tight end get hurt, you want another one just kind of hanging around, you know what I'm saying? And just for clarity, I don't think these dudes are practice squad dudes. Alec Holla, Princeton Fant, they may be, but we ain't talking about them right now. You're only carrying 4 tight ends. 1 is already, Jake Ferguson's locked, signed, sealed, delivered. So out of all these guys on this list right here, you can only keep 3. So Luke Schoonmaker is a big body blocking tight end. Brevin Spann Ford is a big body blocking tight end. John Stevens is red zone hybrid receivery pass catcher. Hendershot is another one of those, but just not as good. And that's tough because John Stevens ain't played an NFL game and Peyton Hendershot has played many. But when we gave Peyton Hendershot the opportunity to prove himself, he did not. He just simply did not. Peyton Hendershot got hurt Luke Schoonmaker had the opportunity to prove himself. Peyton came back. Luke did nothing. Peyton got his shot again, and Peyton and Luke took turns all season doing nothing with tight end 2 and 3. They had to get Sean McEwen involved. And Stephen Jones co-signs John Stevens so much. When he was talking about the rookies, man, he skipped over like last year's rookies, right? This next crop of rookies here, man, he skipped over guys like Viliami Fehoko. He skipped over, damn near everybody in that class, you know what I mean? But he made sure to mention, hey, John Stevens would have made this team. John Stevens, DeMarvin Overshown, he ain't mentioned Mozzie. John Stevens, he had an opportunity to mention Luke Schoonmaker, who was in that draft with him. Luke Schoonmaker, John Stevens, and Princeton Fant, they're all in the same class. Out of all those guys, Stephen Jones mentioned John Stevens Jones. He said, hey man, John Stevens would have made the team anyway. That leads me to believe there's room for him here. Peyton Hendershot's the opposite of all that, ain't it? You know what I mean? People just trying to get Peyton Hendershot out of here. When I asked about draft politics, if y'all take a look right here, there's a number 2. Like this is number 83. Jersey number 86. Last name Schoonmaker, first name Luke. 23 is the year that he was drafted in. 2 is the round that he was drafted in. So when you're looking at these depth charts, that's how you read that. Luke Schoonmaker's second round pick is going to mean nothing to John Stevens's CF23. That's college football 2023. That means that they're undrafted or something. They come from another league. Undrafted. Your second round pick, Luke Schoonmaker, is in a room of all undrafted tight ends, and he's trying his best to be odd man out. When Luke is given opportunities to earn his spot, he works hard at not taking it away. He works incredibly hard at not taking that opportunity and grasping it and holding on to it. Hendershot gave Schoonmaker all the chances in the world to beat him, and he couldn't. Brevin Spanford is on the way, ladies and gentlemen. I would play the film, but y'all have seen it thousands of times. Probably a better blocker than Luke Schoonmaker coming out of college, but hey, who knows? We'll see. Probably a better blocker than Luke Schoonmaker coming out of college. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. It's cool. Brevin Spanford was also getting reps with the ones, and I think, maybe Schoonmaker. Well, for sure, Schoonmaker's dealing with his injury. Ferguson may be working a little bit starter, so he's sitting out possibly. John Stevens working over injury. Alec Holler is a guy that undrafted guy, UCF. Whatever. But Princeton Fant seems to be a guy that the Cowboys value a little bit as a hybrid tight end fullback guy, because he's a bit athletic, not as big as the other tight end guys, which leads me to believe he may be a fullback type dude, with the same as Alec Holler. They're both like 6'2", 6'3" or something. Luke is big. John Stevens is humongous. Brevin is big. Peyton Hendershot's big, relatively. Ferguson's out this conversation. He's him. Brevin Spanford being an undrafted free agent is not going to be a conversation when we talk about, oh well, Luke Schoonmaker is a second round pick. He should have some opportunities more than Brevin Spanford. Man, that's cool. But we've seen Sam Williams, a second round pick, sit down for a long time. For a fourth round pick in Dorrance Armstrong and Dante is a first round pick, but he wasn't drafted here. He's a free agent. They'll sit these second round picks down. We noticed that. So Luke Schoonmaker, we just want you to show and prove and tell. Show and prove and tell. Y'all want to know why Luke Schoonmaker can't show, prove, and tell? Because he always hurt. So if you asking Voch to pick 4 tight ends out this group, let me just bring Jake Ferguson back to the party. Jake's gonna be your balanced seam tight end 1, Dak Prescott best friend, 11 personnel, first tight end guy. We go to 12 personnel. Brevin Span Ford, blocker, catch a little bit, pretty good yak guy because he's humongous, 270 something pounds. And if you need a dude that's gonna be conjoined at the hip with Tyler Guyton because competition's on the way, I want it to be Brevin Span Ford. Brevin Span Ford creates a redundancy with Luke Schoonmaker. I personally feel like skill-wise, Brevin Span Ford could beat out Luke Schoonmaker. But Luke Schoonmaker can't even say, F you, Voch, watch me prove it, because he's hurt. He's habitual hurt guy. Then when it comes down to these pass catchers right here, man, it's John Stevens versus Peyton Hendershot, man. We looking for a reason to get Peyton Hendershot up out of here. So that's 3. So now it comes down to Luke Schoonmaker versus Peyton Hendershot versus Princeton Fant versus Alec Holler. Schoonmaker has an opportunity to beat Peyton Hendershot. Schoonmaker has the opportunity to beat Peyton Hendershot. As a second round pick, second year player, he has an opportunity to beat Peyton Hendershot. But if he's hurt, he will not beat Peyton Hendershot.